Hello and welcome here to Talk FCB and welcome back here to another video, guys, on the channel. And today once again we're going to be speaking about Ousmane Dembele and the injury that he sustained against Getafe. But the reason I've done this video today is because I've seen quite a few people talking about Dembele and saying that he knew about his injury before the match on Saturday, and some people have even gone as far as to blame Dembele for this very unfortunate injury. Now, of course we're all frustrated, we all wanted to see him, we know that he cost a lot of money, but for me this really isn't Dembele's fault. There's been a lot of things like this clip here and like some images that I'm going to show you that make it look as though Dembele possibly had some discomfort before the match started. But in this video I'm just going to talk you through things, and hopefully at the end of it you'll be realising that probably Dembele did not know anything about this injury and certainly what was going to follow before this match. Valverde himself has come out in his press conference yesterday. He also supported that. He said Dembele knew nothing of the injury before the game and it was simply a freak accident. Now, in these clips here, people are saying that Dembele isn't warming up in the way that everybody else is, which is possible, but in the same way, not everybody warms up the same. You've got to understand that footballers are very unique people. They all have their own routine, they all have their own superstitions, their way of doing things. They don't all do the same sort of things. And a lot of people are saying, you can see Dembele here clutching at his hamstring, possibly feeling around at his muscles. You know that if you play football or any sport or any athletics, before the game, before your race, that's what you do. Some people will do it more than others, but you sort of feel around at your muscles, you check if you're warmed up, you check how they're feeling. That doesn't necessarily mean that he's got some discomfort, he's just feeling how things are going. That's a sort of common thing for people to do when they're warming up, just before they go out. That's what happens. And certainly in these clips here of Dembele during the game, you watch some of the things he does, particularly the high intensity sprints, and you would understand, again, if you play the game or any sort of sport, you'll understand if you've got even the slightest of injuries, you cannot make these sort of sprints. You just cannot do it. Look at this one here. He goes past the defender, he tries to get past it. That's a high intensity sprint. If he had any problem at all, he would not even be able to entertain the idea of getting up to full speed. And he did it quite a few times before his injury. He was sprinting, he even fell over there. No sign of any discomfort on his face. You would be feeling serious pain now if there was any problem at all. I genuinely believe that Dembele went into that game with no problem at all, and the injury was simply one of those freak incidents. You see him here, he's got the ball, there's no sign of any wince on his face, there's no sign of any pain. He even falls down again, no sign of anything coming, and he makes a lot of these movements, a lot of these sharp movements. You see him there, he turns very quickly. You wouldn't be able to do that. You wouldn't have that kind of athleticism if there was something wrong with you before the game. And I really do feel quite strongly about this, because I don't want people, particularly fans, particularly now when Dembele needs the support of us, you don't want people getting on him for possibly bringing this on himself, when for me, looking from afar, that certainly was not the case. Dembele went into this game with the good intentions. I can see why the narrative comes. I could see why you would think that maybe he would hide it. Of course, he was so desperate to play. He really wanted to pull on the Barca shirt and get as many minutes as he possibly could, but it was simply one of those things. The injury happened out of absolutely nothing. This bit of movement here, this bit of skill, led to eventually him going down, unable to continue. He didn't try to run through it. He didn't try to continue. He actually stayed on the ground. He felt the injury as soon as it happened, and then he went off. That was what he did. It was sensible in the end from Dembele. It was the right thing to do. And I think even though he's young, he's 20 years old, people have been saying things like, you know, he's so young that he wouldn't really understand about these injuries. He's young, so he's been naive. He's tried to play through it. He may only be 20 years old, but this is a guy that's probably spent his entire life in the game of football. He'll understand how things work, and more than anything, he'll understand how his body works. And if he wasn't right going into this game, I will absolutely guarantee you that he wouldn't play. He will know what's at risk. He will know how much of a risk it would be to sort of play in a game like this at this sort of level, and he wouldn't have done that. He would not risk anything for that, because he knows how serious things could be. I think this injury is a serious one, but it's come out of nothing, and really the fault does not lie at Dembele's jaw. And right now we need to give him every bit of support that we can. We need to get behind him 110%, and we need to put this to one side. It wasn't him to blame. He didn't know about it, and if he did, he certainly would have done something about it. And just to run you through some of these pictures as well, which are going around on social media, and of course you can put words with anything now. You can make anything look like you want it to. You can set your own narrative. Like I say, he was desperate to play, so people will think that he's played through the pain barrier. Once again here, like I was saying, he can be seen grabbing his hamstring, but a lot of people make that movement. A lot of people do that kind of thing just before they go out on the pitch, so that explains that image. It might have been exactly the same for other players. Maybe they just weren't photographed in that way. And you look at this picture particularly, that sort of of explains what I'm trying to say. You look at Dembele there, a lot of people saying, look, you know, he's clutching at his hamstring again, he's feeling around at his muscles, but you look just behind him at Lucas Digne, and you can guarantee a few seconds before this picture was taken and that narrative was set, you can guarantee that Digne had his hand in exactly the same place. Or if maybe Digne had been injured now in the coming game, you'd say, look, he was holding his knee, he was holding his thigh. You can make anything look like you want it to if you've got the right picture at the right time. Dembele here can be seen feeling something, but that means nothing. And I can absolutely guarantee you, if there was any doubt at all, if there was any sort of worry, somebody at the club within the extensive staff that Barcelona have, they would have found out about it. These players are surrounded every single day in training, not just by Valverde, not just by assistant coaches and goalkeeping coaches and coaches for every position, but they're surrounded by a medical team, they're surrounded by a physio, even a psychiatrist is in the Barcelona ranks. This is one of the biggest clubs in the world, and you have one of the biggest teams in sport attending to these guys every single day, and they are surrounded by these people. Dembele, when he's out on the pitch, he'll be following a set routine. When he's in the gym, he'll have a personal training plan. He will have somebody who watches over his progress, and people in that Barcelona team will be analysing data from his performances every single day of the week, in training, on match days. If there was any single sign of anything wrong, it would have been picked up by them. It would have been picked up by a computer, and we would have known about it, and they would have known about it. And for sure, Ernesto Valverde would not have included Dembele if he knew that anything was wrong, and Dembele himself would have known to report it if he'd have felt any sign of any injury, any twinge, or anything at all in his muscles. So I think right now, the important thing, like I say, is to get behind Dembele. This really wasn't his doing. He needs all of our support, and that means every single one of us getting behind Dembele ahead of his recovery, which is going to be difficult for him because, of course, it's frustrating for us. You know, our record signing, big money signing in the summer, somebody we desperately needed, and somebody that we saw, of course, give us a lot of quality when we have seen him so far in a Barcelona shirt. We're very anxious to see what he can do at Barcelona, but think how Dembele must be feeling. You know, he's waited his lifetime for this chance. He really forced through the move in the summer. He wanted to leave Dortmund. He desperately wanted to come and join Barcelona, the club of his life, the club that he loves, and he wanted to play here with all of his heart. So he must be very, very down at the moment, and I really, really hope that he can come back stronger, prove to us all that he deserves to be here, and really make some memories and make some history in that Barcelona shirt. A lot of people saying, will he be back for Real Madrid? I honestly can't see that happening. I think right now, realistically, he'll be aiming for January return. In that time, we're just going to go through some of the games that he will miss during that period. If you did miss it in my video earlier on, he'll obviously miss tonight's game against Eibar, then he'll miss Girona away, Sporting Lisbon away in the Champions League, then Las Palmas at home, Atletico Madrid away, Olympiacos at home in the Champions League, Malaga at home in the league, then Copa del Rey match, then away at Athletic Club, away at Olympiacos in the Champions League, then Barca against Sevilla at home in the league, away at Leganes, away at Juve in the Champions League, away at Valencia back in the league, another Copa del Rey match, then at home at Celta, at home against Sporting Lisbon, again in the Champions League. That's our final group stage match, away at Villarreal, home against Deportivo, away at Real Madrid most likely, and then on to January. There's a few Copa del Rey matches in January. We played Levante early on. He could be targeting that special game against Real Sociedad away at the Anoeta. The curse still lives on. We could need Dembele back for that game, but we're going to have to wait and see whether he's fully fit and ready to go in the middle of January. Hopefully he will be. I really, really hope that his recovery goes as planned and he can get back when he's ready as soon as possible, but let him take his time, let him do his own thing. He'll be back when he can, I'm sure. He'll be desperate to get back on the pitch, but he needs to make sure that he follows the right recovery process to avoid any potential relapses with this injury. But, you know, looking at those fixtures, of course, there's some big ones there that he will miss, but it is positive on one front that he will not miss any Champions League knockout stage games. That's pretty good. He should be back by the time the last 16 kicks in, of course. We're expecting to qualify from our group, so he'll be back for all those big Champions League games, and he'll be very, very desperate to be involved in those. And, of course, if you did miss my video earlier on, guys, his operation in Finland today was a success. That was carried out this morning. It went very, very well, and the club have now released a statement saying that he should be back within 3.5 2.5 months. So that's all good for Dembele. A good operation today, all successful, and now pointing towards his recovery, and we all need to get behind him as one, give him all the support we possibly can. It's a frustrating time for him, just like it's a frustrating time for us. But as always guys, please leave your thoughts down below. It's always good to hear from you. Thank you as always for all of your votes of confidence. I really do appreciate the support. I will be back later on, of course, for Barcelona against Eibar in the league. Can we continue our winning run? Can we get that 5th successive league win? I certainly hope so. I'll see you then, but until then, as always, Vasca el Barça!